every year has a day of prayer, and the day of prayer is September 9th through the 10th, which is Wednesday and Thursday. And if you want to take part in that, you can go online. Everything's online, of course. And they have all kind of talks, and they have all kind of videos and prayers, silent unity prayers and different things, so you can check into that. So today, that's what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to take this message today from The Universe is Calling, and this is with Eric Butterworth. He is a unity person who led the front line of New Thought and Unity. He's written like 16 books, like Discover the Power Within You, and all different kind of books. So this is what I'm going to be taking this message from today. And in the book, he talks about this Boy Scout troop that went on out into the woods, and they were checking out the nature and everything. And one of the boys got left behind, and they got back to the camp, and they couldn't find the little boy, and so they called the police, and they had all these people going out to check where this little boy was. They never found him. So the next morning, they ran up to him, and there he was sitting under this tree, and he was just whittling away with his Boy Scout knife. And they said, where have you been? Why aren't you afraid? He said, well, why would I be afraid? God's here with me. And they said, well, how do you know God's here? And the little boy just looked at them and smiled and said, because I'm here. Now that's the consciousness we want to obtain, that we are that God. When I went to Unity for a week class, the first time this teacher came into the room and she addressed us, she said, I am God, and I'm welcome to meet the God that you are. I was so uncomfortable, and this was years ago, that I wanted to leave because I thought, this is not right. But as we went on into our lessons that day, I came into an understanding that I am that God, that presence is within me and has me. So let's go into the book a little bit. We want to talk a little bit about Jesus. And Jesus is such an important part of prayer, because Jesus didn't come here as a spiritual being. He came here as a human being. We forget that Jesus was part of humanity, right? He didn't start out in this spiritual consciousness, because he was here to demonstrate where we begin, but where we are able to evolve to, right? He is that demonstration for us. Unity calls Jesus our way shower. It's not somebody that we worship outside of ourselves. And that's why a lot of the religions today don't understand the concept of what unity teaches, because they believe that we are to worship and praise Jesus, that he is above us. All he did was he transformed his consciousness into the consciousness that the Father and him were one. It's about coming into our oneness. Now the Father, when he says the Father and him, all he is saying is that the energy of all that is. That's what is referred to as the Father. Okay? So I'm going to go into his book here and see what he says about it. And this was from our co-founder, Charles Fillmore. He was more than any other person who ever lived on earth, because there came into his humanhood a factor to which most persons are strangers. This factor was the Christ consciousness. The unfoldment of this consciousness by Jesus made him God incarnate. Because Christ is the mind of God individualized. We cannot separate Jesus Christ from God or tell where the person leaves off and God begins in him. To say that we are human persons of Jesus was a human person is not exactly true. because he had dropped that personal consciousness by which we separate ourselves from our true God self. He became consciously one with the absolute principle of being. He proved in his resurrection and ascension that he had no consciousness separate from that of being. Therefore, he was this being to all intent and purpose. Yet he obtained no more than what is expected of every one of us. And he goes on to share this story of after this talk that he gave, Mr. Butterworth, he goes on to tell this story of a lady who came up to him and said, well, I'm sure glad you straightened that out, because I always thought that his parents were Mr. and Mrs. Christ. So that just tells you a little bit about where a lot of people are consciously, not understanding that when we say Christ, like over here, the Christ in me rises to meet you, that is a principle. That is a state of consciousness that we are here to obtain. Okay? So, spiritual healing occurs as we begin to consciously reconnect with our essential being, the wise, loving, powerful, creative entity that we are at our core. So this is just a transformation of our consciousness, that we come back in to remembering, to reestablishing what is already the presence that we are. But we're just allowing it to unfold and letting go of whatever is in the way of that unfoldment. So I'm going to take you into a visualization, and as we go through today, I'm going to do a couple visualizations and some exercises, and you have your journals. So as things come up to you, be the observer. Be paying attention to what you're thinking and what you're feeling as I go through this talk today. And when things come up that are not in alignment with that wholeness that you are, write those down. Journal those down, and then you can release those today. Let those go, okay? So just remember to pay attention to yourself. Relaxation is a vital step in getting into a prayer consciousness. It is the first step in scientific prayer. Prayer is not a physical activity, but if you are trapped in a body consciousness, our way is effectively blocked. It is important to establish yourself in the feeling of dominion, meaning power. You are not your body. You have a body. And the you that has the body has the power to master the body. So we're going to do this exercise. Tell your right arm to rise and fall. Okay? Tell your left arm to rise and fall. You have control of your body? Okay. If you have control of your physical body, that is the realization that we want to understand. So let's sit in our chair, feet flat on the floor, body erect. And this is how we go into prayer. We get confused by just, saying, a prayer real quick, but you really have to get into a relaxed state to actually pray. It's just another form of meditation. So tell your hands to relax. Let them drop loosely in your lap. Working from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, go through all the parts of your body. Start at your crown and relax. Your forehead, relax your forehead. your eyes, your nose, your mouth, chin, neck, shoulders, lungs, stomach, your legs. Just relax everything. And as you relax, say this to yourself: relax and let go. Give yourself permission. You're the master here. So take that power and let go. Eventually, get the sense that your body is as limp as a dish rag, falling in a heap on the floor. Just rest the tensions of the body and a symbolic sense of freedom, or the anxieties and frustrations of the mind. If you are still enough in mind and body, you experience the inspiration of all that is, saying to you figuratively, if not actually, you are my beloved child. You are loved. You are free. You are whole. You are creative. You are successful. Remember, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. The activity of God is always seeking to heal you, to bless you, to fill all your vessels with good. When you get yourself out of the way, the divine flow does its perfect work. However, it is not that you stir God to activity. You simply become receptive to the divine activity that is always present, has a presence. So if anything comes up to you after that, write it down. If there's any false thinking or beliefs that you've had about what you just went in the stillness for, that does not resonate with you, write that down. Last week we talked about chemicalization. So if you're introducing a new thought, a new truth, you may be having an agitation within you before you are able to reestablish the truth that resonates with you. So we're going to move on from here. So what about these affirmations? Choose your affirmations. We think sometimes that affirmations, if we just repeatedly say them, we say them long enough, something will happen, right? That truth will just become, right? That's not what affirmations are about. Affirmations are something that you can believe to be your truth, like your wholeness, your divinity. So you want to affirm knowing that this is your truth, not just out here using the I am and not even feeling that within your being, because it is inside of you that tells you what is going to resonate that you need to be affirming. I know in the beginning that's what I had affirmations all over my house, and I was constantly I am, you know, and nothing was happening. It wasn't until I started the process of going within and letting go, first of all, of whatever it was blocking that truth, and then affirming that truth. And your affirmations are personal. They are what is going on for you. We have this idea that I hear so much about everyone saying, well, this is what you should do, and this is how you should do it. Well, that is old programming. That's what we grew up with. I can't tell you what resonates with you. Only you can discover that from within. Right? So affirmations are personal. They're intimate. They're talking to you from that presence that you need to know something and gain that wisdom to remember that truth for yourself. Okay? So, prayer is a creative process, right? Every word, every thought, every feeling, we're creating, right? Most of the time we create from the subconscious mind of negativity. But if the subconscious mind can create that negativity, why don't you think it can create positivity? It's our choice as it comes up what we do with it. You are a creator with the presence that is who you are, and that is divine. When we say, God is beside me, or what's some other things that cause duality? When anytime you refer to God and you have created duality, right? You're not going into the presence of the God that is you. You're thinking there's something outside of yourself that you have to go to. Yes, Julie?
God is my co-pilot. You see that on bumper stickers a lot.
Mm-hmm. But what does that sound like? Oneness or duality?
Oh, definitely duality.
Yes. But that's what we've always believed and we've always been taught. That the God is outside of us. But it's not until we come into our own divine nature that we know that I am that expression. We are all a different expression of all that is. Creator wanted to feel everything. And so we're giving Creator the opportunity to feel that as us. What did that say? Incarnated. God is incarnated in us. That's powerful. And it may not be something you can grab onto right now, and that's okay. It's okay. You will get it when you get it when you get it, when you're ready. The source is gentle and kind and loving, and you don't receive until you're ready, until you claim that for yourself. Okay? So you're always creating, and prayer is the creative force. So we hear this all the time. Expect a miracle. Believe in a miracle. Do you believe in miracles? You believe in magic and miracles and all that? So a miracle is something that happens outside of yourself, right? Something that happens within. Okay. So I'm going to tell you a story he uses in the book. He talks about these firemen, and back in the day where they had to line up and pass the bucket from the well or the spring or wherever, and they would line up,
The bucket brigade.
The bucket brigade, right. So they'd pass that water, and then they would put the fire out. So what happens if they forget to put the water in there, and they pass the bucket, and there's no water? That's the same for us. We have to go to the well within us and fill ourselves up. People believe in miracles because they take the responsibility away from themselves and they think that a God out here is going to create a miracle. Right? I mean, isn't that the mentality that you think about when you think about a miracle? Most people go to God and pray for a miracle at the worst of times in their lives. But what if they went within and created what they wanted to experience out here? Instead of expecting an outside force to do it for them. It takes away our responsibility of creating our own reality if we are expecting a miracle. Does that make any sense? Any questions? Okay. So look at this. We ask and we ask and we ask and we want all this This is what I want. This is what I desire. And we keep asking. And this is a realization for me that I had. I'm always saying, ask and receive. Ask and receive. But Mr. Butterworth says, if you are asking, you're not claiming. So, I'm not going to say that anymore. I'm going to say, claim it with all the power within you, and you're going to save it. Because asking is, again, placing the responsibility outside of yourself instead of claiming the power within to receive it. Knowing that if I claim it, I got it. These are very powerful things that we can turn around in the way we're thinking and living our life and creating our life. And they make huge, huge transformations for you by just shifting how you're doing your prayers. So, look at this here. He talks about resentment when we hold on to things. Look what happens to the body here. Knots of resentments. Enemy. Resentment causes knots. Not constructive. Flow of energy is all blocked. Look what happens to your body. And look what happens in forgiveness. Opens up all knots of energy and it flows freely. What a difference. And I love this. Look, he's got that. Is that like a little rope or something maybe?
Yeah, it used to be around his heart.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Oh.
Cool.
It's a cowboy with a lasso.
Yeah. Let that lasso go, baby. Okay. So, anyway, so he shared this story about how they get monkeys to the zoo. They go out into Africa and they put these bottles that are filled with these fragments of nuts and stuff. And so the monkeys go to the bottle. Of course, they reach their hand in there to get a hold of the nut. Right? The monkeys are always free, right? They're always free. Okay? But they're holding on to that nut and they're not going to let it go. Now, if they let it go, they go back to their freedom. But they keep holding on to that. And the bottle's so heavy that they can't move from where they're at. So when they come back the next day, they got a monkey. But at any time, that monkey could have let go of that nut, released himself, and stayed free. But so he dragged him out. That's what we do. We don't want to let go of what is serving no purpose for us. We're holding on to that as tight as we can, and so we drag that around with us. I love that story because it just symbolizes so much of what people do. You gotta let it go. Let it go. So we're going to do another visualization. So let's just get still in our seats, relax, and let it go. So we're going to have some waves going in the background. Let's take some deep breaths and just relax into your seat. Let it go. Is it not working? Imagine an ocean scene with the water moving turbulently and with many great white-capped waves. Now, it is your image, so you can deal with it as you will. Imagine that you are one with the waves. The wave that is you moves through the ocean. It has body, it has motion. What is this wave that is you? It is the ocean formed at that point into a wave. It is never more or less than the ocean. Now, what is your relationship with God? You are the activity of God expressing as you. And you can never be more or less than God. God is in you as the ocean is in a wave. See the ocean becoming calm and the waves becoming smaller. See the whole body of water becoming placid and eventually becoming smooth as glass. What happened to the wave that is you? It is where it always was and what it always was. The ocean expressing at this point has a wave. It is simply a potential, but it is there. And now, see this in your relationship with all that is. As you become still, still, still. Get the sense of losing your desires, your ego, your sometimes turbulent personality. Be still and know that I am God. Perhaps you have long had trouble in saying, I am God. But in this context, it is easy, isn't it? Think about this. Think about this. I am God. Can you say that? I am God. What's coming up when you say that? Agitation when you say that? Or is it a renewed state of consciousness of being? I'm all that is. He whose self is established in oneness, whose vision is everywhere, sees the self in all beings and all beings in the self. So let's return back to this space. Anything that came up for you, let's write that down. Okay. So now we're going to talk a little bit about prayer and other people. I always think that we have to control the situation when other people are feeling less than. Okay? So we're going to use a Bible verse here, 1 Corinthians 7:32. Be free from concern. Have you ever seen a person who is so concerned and worried about somebody, what happens to their face after years and years and years of worry? Very strong, because they've taken on that energy of somebody else. So what we always like to, I always like to go to is our plants. There was research done where they hooked up an EKG machine to plants, and they talked very poorly to them and destructively to them. And they died. And they talked very kindly to them and loved them, and they flourished. And we connect to that nature, right? Nature gives us the ideas of how to live life. Like that plant out there, I'm going to bring it up again. When I came here, I could tell it hadn't been really loved or nurtured. It was just there. It wasn't abused, but it wasn't getting some attention of that love. So I'm loving it, talking about its beauty every day, making sure she's nourished and she's flourishing. And the same happens for us. And the same happens when we hold that for other people. Right? So he talks about this son because he wanted you to be able to relate that he has experienced what it's like to let go of concern for his son. Because what do most people say? Well, I'm going to worry and be concerned. That's my son. That's my family. That's my partner. How can I not be concerned about their well-being when they're dying or they've been in an accident? Well, what happens? We ignite that. We fuel that. Because if we're one, right, then what we think about that affects that situation, that experience for them. So he used an example of his son who was 5 years old. He was riding his tricycle and he hit concrete steps and went flying down these steps and busted his head. It was like swelled up. Rushes him to the hospital. He's all worried and he's all concerned and, oh my God, is he going to make it? And then he stopped. And a man who is so into new thoughts, so into metaphysics, thinking, well, I'm not even doing what I talk about, what I write about. So he stepped out of the emergency room, his son crying in tears, the doctor's taking care of him. He walks out the hospital, walks down the road, and sits on the curb, hands in his face in his hands, and he just started feeling peace within himself. Not peace for his son, because the only person he can affect is himself. But by him changing his consciousness from a state of concern and worry, he's able to ripple that out and affect the outcome of what went on with his son. Right? And this is another thing that you might have to write about that you're like, So, after he found peace with his own being, his own consciousness, he walks back into the hospital. His son's sitting on the bed laughing. The doctor released the pressure, had a little Band-Aid on his head, and everything was good. Now, do you think he affected the outcome of that? If we are one, there's no separation, how can we not affect it? Ask yourself. Ask these questions to yourself. Because if it doesn't make sense to you, then ask why it doesn't. Okay? So we're going to do, we got this exercise about the boat. I guess I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm talking out loud. Okay, so let's sit still again. Get your mind relaxed again. And this is all what we do for prayer. So every time I take you into this space of relaxation, of state of letting go, this is prayer. This is the scientific process of prayer that we're doing today. Okay? So I want you to visualize that the person who you're holding concern for is on this dock. And you're going to get in this boat, and it's a rowboat. So you know when we row a rowboat, we're facing the opposite direction, right? So let's visualize this. Take your consciousness here with me. So you're rowing away from this person of concern. And I want you to invite in your consciousness someone that you feel this way about, someone that you're holding concern for, worry about. And visualize yourself rowing that boat, and they get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's only you there now. This is a visualization for you to do when you start feeling concern for somebody else. Stop. Relax. Have the willingness to let it go and use this visualization. Now what happens if you're still tied to the dock and you start rowing? Think you're rowing out, you're not seeing what's behind you. You open your eyes, and there you are, still in the problem. still creating more difficulty. You're connected to the problem. You're connected to the lack of understanding, and so you go nowhere. It takes willingness to untie the rope, take the action, and allow your boat to be rolled away from that concern and into the wave that you are, filled with unlimited possibilities of health and wholeness, peace, love, and joy. That's what we do. We try to take these practices here, and when things come up for us, and we want to grab a hold of something that no longer resonates with the wholeness of who you are. These are things you can do to take your consciousness away from what is not truth. Okay? So trust the divine order of the universe. You know, so many times we're always trying to look outside of us and judge what's going on, right? Especially now with what's going on in politics. We're looking at a man who some of us disagree with. We don't think he's loving and kind and everything. But if we believed in divine order, we had that complete and total faith, do you not believe that he's there for a reason? Do you not believe that he is just as divine and as much a God as you are? What if he's here to bring everything up that needs to be healed and paid attention to? What if that was his sole contract to come here and do that? So what happens if you turn the news on and you say, well, that's terrible. Oh my God, I can't believe he's doing that. What do you do when you do that?
Power.
You give it power. You're one with him. You are an individualized expression of all that is, and so is he. And do you not think that outside, when you see a reflection coming back to you, do you not think that's something within you that you have not healed? Why do you think we do the mirror work? It's within you, or you would change the way you perceive him. Because you would know who he is. You would know his divinity. Now, I'm glad I didn't make his choice. And I decided to come and be here. So it's the way we change, the way we perceive. That's the transformation of the consciousness that empowers your prayers, your thoughts. So it's okay if you want to watch what's going on, but see through the eyes of the God that is you. And know that you are one. And if feelings come up, pay attention to them, because they're there to get your attention. They're there as a reflection of what is not in alignment with all that is. I invite it today. I want to know, is there anything in there I need to look at? By gosh, bring it up. Because the power of strength that I am will handle it, and I know nothing will be given to me that I cannot handle, because that is what I believe. If I believe that I'm going to fall apart if something happens, well, guess what? I'm going to fall apart. Because that's what I believe. It's about what you believe. That's why we're here trying to get rid of beliefs that are not serving us. Because we are here to change humanity. To shift the consciousness of the world to the greatest and highest good that it already is. Yes. So, divine order. Trust it. Know that there is a pattern and an order and a flow that is always at work. Okay? If you have questions, go to that and get that, gain that understanding to know that this is all happening for a reason. I am so excited it's happening because finally all of this stuff is surging up and out. And yeah, it looks pretty nasty out there. But you can say it looks pretty nasty out there, or you can say, look at all this stuff being released, and guess what's going to happen after that? It's your choice. Okay? So be part of that. I invite you to be part of that. So the things I want you to take away today is, first of all, to acknowledge that this is a process, a creative process that you are always in. You're constantly creating. Acknowledge that process instead of a lack of understanding of it or resenting or pushing away from it. Acknowledge that there's this process going on within you, within life. What's it called? The creative process. Like I said, believe. Belief fuels whatever thoughts, feelings, belief. Believe. What do you believe? Look at it. Does it resonate with you? Doesn't have to look the same for everybody. Believe. And then know it is done. When you pray, know that it is done. You can let it go. You can surrender. You don't have to pick it up again. And in divine order, it will be manifested beautifully, perfectly. But if you pick it up again, guess what? What's going to happen if you pick it up again? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You're going to take a step back. Yeah. So no, let it go. That's what surrender is all about. So he gives, these are the processes for prayer. Relax, let go. Meditation is just to turn inward to that oneness. To go to the still point, he calls it, within. And connect to the oneness of the universe. The universe is calling you. I love the title of his book. The universe is calling you. All you got to do is say yes, because the universe says yes to everything. Everything. Good, bad, whatever. So you say yes for your highest good. And that's what you will see. That's what you will experience. And then affirmation of the truth. And this can be universal laws, or it can just be a truth that you hold. Yeah.
So if you're watching this news, obviously it's very negative and scary, and it's, you think the world's burning, and we're all, Are we adding to that when we watch that and we become angry, or is it, what's the best way to handle what we're seeing and witnessing is going on?
Mm-hmm.
What's the best way to handle that? Because I know my first reaction is anger. And so how do we...
Is there a reason you watch it?
So that, I guess maybe that's the question I ask, is it better to not watch it?
I don't think it's that we can't watch it. But if you're going to decide to make that decision, because I watch it every so often just to know what's going on for you all too. But when I watch it, I tell myself that I'm the observer. I'm just observing, and I also affirm that I am knowing that this is in the highest good of all. So I do that before I ever even watch it. So it brings me into that state of oneness. And so it changes my perception when I look outside here. And it's for everything in life. When we look outside here and this evidence that is outside of us, it's not our divine truth. We make that decision, that choice of what eyes we're looking through at it. You're looking through your senses, Or are you looking through the truth of your divine presence? I think we have to be in that alignment to watch it and not create a concern and anger, resentment, or whatever feelings that will rise up. And if they do come up for you, like I said earlier, get that mirror out. What's going on? Why am I feeling this way about it? Maybe it's something in you that's keeping you stuck in that anger.
But how can you not be angry when you're seeing that they're burning all these businesses?
That's where your faith comes in. That's where we develop a spiritual understanding to know these truths. And that's where your faith comes in to know that there is an order here. And if you believe in reincarnation, if you believe that we have a spiritual contract, that we make that choice to come here and fulfill that, it's all about your belief and your faith and what you hold true for your divine presence. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I mean, it's just where I'm holding it and what it means for the ultimate outcome, because obviously with people's lives being written, and so I just say, tell myself that it's for the higher good.
Yeah, because it is.
We've been trained to think everything works instead of finding good, and no matter how bad it is, there's something good happening.
Yes.
We have to look at it in a positive way instead of
It's
saying.
bringing a lot of corruption to life.
Yes, things being shown, we have to see things. To
We
be
have
aware
to
of.
see this before we demand change, is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes. It has to be seen, no matter what, all the bad stuff's coming up, it has to come through. And it's gonna keep coming to surface, there's gonna be, this month's gonna be.
Yes. And you know, we as humans think that the darkness is bad. The darkness is part of the light. It is the way that we see the light is through the darkness.
Our teacher.
It's our teacher. Yes. When we have darkness and we have experiences that are hurting us and causing all this grief inside of us, resentment, unforgiveness, or whatever it is, that's our teacher. I look back at all my relationships and I'm so grateful that they were saviors for me. They taught me. I learned what I don't want so that I know what I do, so that I see that light. But I'm watching that show we're going to be seeing here on Wednesday starting in October, Initiation. And he talks about this, that we think there's these dark forces and these light forces. He said the consciousness of the world, they work together. They're not separate. Those dark forces and light forces, they work together. Because the dark forces are what help us to evolve and come into a different state of consciousness. Without them, well, we would just be on autopilot. We'd just be in our happy-go-lucky little thing, you know. But we have come here to experience, to grow, to overcome, and to come back in to our truth. That we are power. Not just powerful, we are the power.
I remember the sheepdog and the wolf. You know, at the end of the day, you know, they're all day they're fighting each other, you know, trying to kill each other. At the end of the day, they clock out and they have a beer.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, you know, this show was talking about. Because I hear so many people, and this has never resonated with me. And I hear people talk about, oh, the dark ones are coming in, oh, you know, and they're like trying to run away and trying to get rid of them. But I never felt connected to that state of mind. Because I thought, I don't believe that. I believe it is all good no matter what. So that didn't resonate with me. And now I know, because now I see through different eyes, that it's all good. It's all good.
And that's why they call it the Great Awakening, because it's
Yes.
all coming to the light. People are becoming awake to the evil,
Mhm.
It's hard to find this.
Yeah.
So hold that point of knowing that all has to come to light to move into peace and love.
Yes. Yes. Do you just look at the world and how wounded we've been. And it's never been healed. It's never come up to the surface for us to heal and make. I mean, there's little bitty changes that have happened that tweak it a little bit here and there, but it's never gone to the core of what that was. That's why racism is happening right now, because that was never healed. It's still present.
I just remember arrests started happening for sex trafficking pedophilia. And it was like never.
Everything. Every single thing that does not serve the highest good is going to come up for attention. So until we see complete and total healing of it, that's why, they talk about the new earth. I've seen it. I'm starting to have these visualizations that are coming to me. I've seen it. It's beautiful. And there is no governing systems at all. Everything is dismantled completely so that we are free. You think we're free in America? And excuse my, hell no. We're not free. We've been programmed. Are we free spiritually? Hell yeah. Yeah. So I hope that you can come to a place within you where you find excitement for what's happening. That you ignite that passion within you and not get pulled in to what's not real. It's not real. It's just this illusion we're having so that God could be incarnated to feel everything there is to feel, and then always being home. We've never left home. All we have to do is go within and we're home. And when you start practicing that on a daily, and it becomes your priority, you connect to home, to the heart. And when you do that, you will not see what you see now out here. It will be for the good of all.
We can start seeing the peace that's coming, the peace coming.
The peace that's here now. That's how we create. We bring it into the present moment of now. You create the peace within you, and that affects everything else. So the more people that create that peace within, we raise that turning point of the collective whole. Whoop, flip-flopping. You don't have to go out here. Why do you think we have these bumper stickers? Peace begins with me. That's the only place that you have to address is within you. Nobody else. That's the only responsibility that you have. I think that's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool that I am only responsible for myself, and what I hold within me will affect all of those outside of me. Even if I might not see that with my outer eyes, I know inwardly that I have made a difference.
That's pretty powerful.
Very, very powerful. And that's why we're here, to learn and understand and gain that insight. To be out there walking in it, shining. And these are the tools, and this is the creative process that you have come here to be the master of. It's through your choice, and it's through your willingness. Yes. Okay, so, amen. I used to think, because of my programming, my Catholic background, all that good stuff, I pulled away from using amen. Because it just felt uncomfortable to me. So that was something I needed to look at, because I felt uncomfortable with it. Why am I feeling uncomfortable? Because I didn't know the true meaning of it. Amen is so be, so be. That's all it means. It is the law of acceptance. Amen. It's where we seal it up, let it go, and know that this is done. And so I say, so be it. Amen. So I will be saying that now. And the folded hands represent unity, represent our oneness. We bring those hands together in our oneness, in our unity. It's like the namaste. The divinity in me sees the divinity in you, in you. It's a way to meet and greet each other. We're seeing that. So I really felt awesome with this understanding. It just elevated me, and it's another thing that as we go through this process, things that used to just trigger us no longer do that, because we look and see them through different eyes, and there's an understanding of it. So get busy being what you have confirmed. So now, once you have that shift in your consciousness and you've transformed that consciousness, now you go out and you be it. Right? It is done. Yes. So I'm going to do another little meditation here, or visualize it. So let's just get centered again in our seats. We place our feet on the floor just to feel rooted and grounded to Mother Earth. I know there's been times I feel like I'm going to fly away, so it's very important that we kind of ground and accept that we are here, and Mother Earth is holding us and protecting us and keeping us centered. So let's visualize your body falling into a heap on the floor like a limp dish rag. Hold your arms out, and form two tight fists. And imagine that all your concerns are within these two fists. Then unclasp the fist and let your arms drop into your lap. So there's another way that you take the physical body and you take it to the mind, so that you are the one that is the master. Now concentrate your attention on a point of light deep within your mind. This is the still point. The point where the allness of God becomes the eachness of you. Let yourself flow gently down into this deep well of the mind, and as you come closer to that point of light, it becomes larger and larger, as if you were coming close to the fiery orb of the sun. Eventually, you go right into and through the light, and now you do not see light. You are enlightened, and you see from light. Rest quietly in this awareness. This is the ground of being on which your prayer builds. Feel the infusion of energy and life and light. Now, for the first time, call to mind that for which you want to pray. It may be a person, a condition, financial needs, or perhaps healing for yourself. Remember, you are in the light, and your prayer is the projection of this light, whether by words of truth, affirmation, or spiritual treatment, or simply as a way to focus your light on the issue. Above all, remember that you do not pray to God. You pray for whatever you want from the consciousness of God. Don't be tense or anxious. Quietly, lovingly, with no sense of urgency, speak your word of truth, or just see the projection of light. Feel grateful, and then, amen. So be it. It is done. It is finished. So as things come up, I invite you to release what you'd like to release today. And you just do that by taking a match, lighting it, and burning into the bowl. And then what you would like to affirm today. Okay? And just light your candle from the candle of source for your affirmation. I invite you up to do that, and then we're going to play some this song. It's called Thoughts or Prayers. As you come up and do that.